You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted to be joined by Bonnyton's dream team here. I've got Bonnyton's manager Alan Robertson, Kilmarnock club legend, and now trying his hand at management with Bonnyton Thistle. Alan, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No problem. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we're also joined by Bonnyton's captain Rhys Wallace. Rhys, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hi, cheers for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Delighted to have you both on. Obviously, this is the first show we have recorded in the Scottish Football Show since the sad events of Tuesday. Obviously, the tragic loss of Walter Smith, a Scottish football legend. Obviously, there have been so many tributes to Walter Smith. But Alan, I want to kind of start with you. Obviously, you had the pleasure of playing against Walter Smith. Obviously, you were part of the Kilmarnock team as well that came up against the Dundee United team that Walter was a part of. They obviously went on to be assistant manager. What's your memories of Walter Smith? And obviously you must have had some kind of dealings with him in the past. Is there a particular story that kind of jumps out to you when you think of Walter?
No, I mean, he was obviously just a major figure in Scottish football with his time at Rangers and obviously Dundee United as well. I mean, I didn't know him particularly well. I was fortunate enough to play a couple of games of golf with him and a couple of meetings after games when Kilmarnock had played Rangers. But, you know, he was somebody who just commanded respect throughout the game. And I think, you know, everyone looked up to regardless of what team they were affiliated to.
Yeah, definitely. It's a sad loss for Scottish football. Rhys, have you any particular memories of Walter Smith yourself as a fan of Scottish football?
I suppose the game Rangers won at Rugby Park, I was a Kelly fan, so that game when they won, I think it was 5-1 to win the league. But apart from that, like you say, just a iconic Scottish figure, I would say. Yeah,
definitely. It's a sad loss. We're going to do a special kind of tribute show to Walter Smith on Sunday. We're hopefully going to be joined by a couple of men who knew Walter well. So we're obviously, it's a sad loss. Everybody at SM Media sends their thoughts to the family of Walter Smith. It's just a sad loss for Scottish football and obviously Rangers and Scotland as a whole. But we are going to move on to talking about the show. Obviously, we've got the guys for Bonnyton on. Alan, I'll start with you. Obviously, it was always going to be a big transition going from the south of Scotland to the west of Scotland. How have you found it so far, and what's been your kind of thoughts on the season as a whole?
Yeah, well, we always knew it was going to be difficult, and it certainly proved that way. You know, we knew that the standard of the league was way above what we had been playing, and when at the outset we had thought that there would be a series of conferences with a mixture of teams in each one, rather than just the Premiership teams who came across from the juniors along with ourselves, because we came from Tier 6 in the South of Scotland League. So it's always going to be hard for us. We got a taste of it in the curtailed season last year, which made us, you know, that it's all very well known it's going to be a lot harder, but actually experiencing it is something different. And this season, you know, we are where we are. I don't feel we've got as many points as we might have got through our performances, but no, it's certainly a hard league. It's a very good league, and there's a lot of good players in it.
Rhys, what's been your thoughts in the season? Obviously, you've just kind of joined the club. What's been your kind of overall thoughts in the start of the season for Bonnyton?
I think just Alan really reiterated it's been a difficult season. I think we knew going into it was going to be hard. As well, I think there's been a few games like Alan said where we feel we could have got a result from that we've just missed out on. I feel we've let in a lot of stupid goals that we could have done a lot better with. And yeah, just exactly what Alan said. I think it's been a difficult season, but I think it's important to know we're quite a young team. I I think that plays that lack of experience sometimes, but yeah, I think we'll find a way eventually. But yeah.
Alan, obviously it was when you think of Bonnyton Thistle, you think of the kind of amateur level they played that for many years, and then obviously switched to semi-pro to join the south of Scotland. Was that, you obviously came at the time when they were making that transition? How did you find the club when you first joined, and what was the reason? What was the kind of main factor of you deciding to leave the Kilmarnock youth system, which you were part of for many years, to take on the project at Bonnyton?
Well, I think it would be wrong to say I left to take on the project at Bonnyton. I mean, I retired from Kilmarnock just simply because, well, it was the time to go, I felt. I had spent a long time there. And after I left, or after I retired, I did some coaching with BSC Glasgow, and then some with East Kilbride, but because football had really been like 24/7 for me for a long number of years, and I didn't really just want to cut ties all at once. And then Ian Higgins got in touch with me when Bonnyton were looking to put a senior team in place to try and join the pyramid system through the South of Scotland League. And as I say, I wanted to still be involved to some extent, and it was an opportunity to join what's always been a well-run club and a well-respected club, and certainly Kilmarnock and Ayrshire, and also in the sort of Scottish youth setup. So that was really the driving force behind it from my point of view.
Brilliant. Rhys, obviously this season the kind of big result was obviously the 3-1 win against Pollock. What was your thoughts on that result, and how big a boost was that for the confidence of the dressing room?
I think after the Darvel game, I know we lost 3-0. I think it gave us a bit of confidence. I think we went into that game almost, I wouldn't necessarily feel like scared, but we were a bit kind of hesitant the full game. And then from that, when it came to the Pollock game, we felt we had a chance. And I think on the day they turned up, first home game in the league, we all turned up. If they played their role, probably one of our better performances in the season. And like you say, I think from then we thought we'd push on. We had all the potential to push on, but obviously didn't go as planned. But no, it was a good result and a good team performance. So
yeah, definitely. Alan, what was your thoughts on that Pollock game? Was that a big boost for yourself? Obviously, kind of Pollock, we see how they're kind of flying at the top of the league. Was that a big result for you to get that early on in the season?
Very much so, because they're one of the leading lights and probably one of the strongly fancied teams to win the league. So to actually win that game, and I think we deserved it on the night, was a boost for us. Unfortunately, we didn't carry it into the game on the Saturday. I think we lost it quite narrowly, actually. But if we'd been able to build on that, I think it would have been much better. Yeah,
definitely. Rhys, obviously the kind of season has went a bit strange for you. Obviously the result against Pollock was your only win so far. The draw against Cumnock, was that any of the defeats you've had so far that you feel as if you could have maybe got a point out of? How hard's it been to obviously go on a kind of a run, and has it been a bit damaging to the kind of confidence in the squad?
I would say, I think like I said before you started, I think we've got ourselves in a bit of a ruck, and obviously like people ending with football, when you get yourself in a ruck, it's quite hard to get out of that. Obviously brushed off and every day, confidence down. But there's been a lot of games where I feel we should have got a lot more out of it. I think we've conceded. I think we've conceded in the last 5 minutes to lose games in 5 games. Cumbernauld, that happened a couple of weeks ago, up 2-1, and then lost 3-2 to last minute goal again. Only our fault, but it was goals that we could have dealt with and didn't need to happen. Kilburn, holding that 0-0, and then a boy scores an overhead kick. So there's been a lot of games where we probably should have got more from it. I think like Alan said, we feel a bit unjust, but then again, we need to kind of clear up in the silly mistakes. If we can clear up in that, I think we could push on a bit more. I think that's the biggest downfall at times.
Yeah. Alan, is there any particular results that kind of scream to you that maybe perhaps you could have got a point out of here and there? What's kind of catches your eye in the kind of results you've had?
Yeah, well, I mean, just echoing what Rhys has said, I mean, I think we've lost something like 9 points in the last 5 minutes of games through either mistakes or just becoming ultra nervous because we weren't winning games, and it's cost us. But the Cumbernauld game, as Rhys said, because we lost the late goal and in the second half, although we had quite a hard time in the first half, the second half we were the better side, and to actually then lose a goal was a bit down. And the Kirkintilloch Rob Roy game as well, I mean, we were right in the game, and then due to our own problems we ended up players short, with players getting sent off, and that ended up in another defeat. Those types of things, I think, knocked the stuffing from us.
Rhys, obviously the kind of Bonnyton setups during our recently been installed. I was kind of talking to Wilson, who's obviously a part of the show the other day. I went to college just down the road for the Synergy Arena, and I never expected that kind of type of thing to be going on there. How impressed have you been with the setup at Bonnyton, and how do you see the kind of club going moving forward?
No, I've always been impressed with the Bonnyton setup. I mean, I've known it from youth level. Obviously, I went away for a while, but I remember it. I remember it at youth level, and it's always been a well-established club in Kilmarnock. And obviously, being from Kilmarnock, you kind of know what the club's about. And like you say, when I heard about the stadium getting built, I didn't expect it to be as high, like as good as it would be. But it's a good setup. And then when I was looking, obviously, when I'm moving to Bonnyton, the big draw factor to me, the fact that it's local, really good setup, good training facilities, just right at your doorstep, like you say. And I think it's good for the community as well. There's not really got a junior team or a semi-pro team in Kilmarnock apart from obviously Kelly and Hereford, you say. So I think it's important that Bonnyton kind of, obviously, but this is about a second year in the West. So hopefully we can just build on this year after year and just keep progressing as a semi-pro team and just build on it.
Brilliant. Alan, what about the setups kind of caught your eye? Obviously, as we were saying there, it's a magnificent stadium. It looks a really good infrastructure. How hopeful are you that kind of Bonnyton can kind of move forward in the next few years and obviously develop youth players, which is obviously where you can see just how many teams they've got at a young age. How impressed have you been with the kind of way Bonnyton are sent about since they kind of started off at that stadium?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the facility is a tribute to a lot of the people, the trustees and people at Bonnyton, particularly people like Ian Higgins and Neil Wilson, who've put a lot of work into getting the facility as it is. And I mean, it's not a question of standing still, because we're currently in the process of putting in a covered area which will help spectators at all our age groups, right down from the young teams through to the seniors. So it's not as if we just said, well, that's it, and we're going to we'll move on now. There's plans to keep developing and improving it. So that's certainly a big thing, and also just providing the pathway for players from, well, I mean, it starts at mini kickers, going, so there's a pathway right through to playing at a senior level, at a good senior level. And that's obviously dependent on us keeping to trying to improve our position with that. But it gives kids who join a pathway to come right through, and there's that's the important thing, really. And we've got a fair number of players in our squad at the moment who have been involved with Bonnyton in the past. And that's certainly something that we want to continue in the future, that we've got a reasonable percentage of players who have come through the system.
Absolutely. Well, chat a wee bit about obviously Bonnyton later on in the show. We've got a few questions for people on social media about the kind of hopes and expectations for the clubs, but we'll talk about in your playing careers, both of you. Obviously, Alan, your kind of record speaks for itself. All-time record appearance holder with Kilmarnock, legend of the club. A lot of people speak very highly of you. What were your highlights of your days at Kilmarnock? How do you look back on your time playing for the club?
Well, fondly, I suppose. It was the team I had grown up supporting because I came from Kilmarnock. So that was, like a dream come true to actually go and play for them. Obviously, the beginning in my career, it was a sort of very up and down experience, and that we seemed to get promoted one season and then relegated the next. But it was a hard time because there were probably only 9 or 10 full-time clubs. So if you were in the Premier League, you were playing against full-time clubs all the time. Latterly, the team certainly went downhill a bit, but a lot of good memories in terms of getting promotion, and also some sort of good cup victories, like beating Celtic in the Scottish Cup in a replay was probably a highlight. But I think it was mainly just the whole experience of playing for Kilmarnock, really.
And who were the kind of best players you played with in those days? Is there a particular kind of team you look back on in the kind of days at Kilmarnock that you just look back with a lot of joy?
Yeah, I mean, there were one of the teams when we had people like Paul Clark, Gary McDicken and Stuart McLean as defenders. You had Jimmy Clark and Ali Moughlan as midfield players. You had Ian Gibson, John Burke, forward players. So that was a good side that we could compete with most of the teams at that time.
Brilliant. Rhys, we'll move on to you. Obviously, what were your kind of early memories of your kind of youth days growing up in football, and what was the kind of motivation to hopefully try and get a career in the game?
So when I was younger, I was at Ayr United when I was younger. Obviously youth level, and then from there got released and moved on to Quinn and Rangers. I was on a dual contract. I was playing with the 19s and then playing with the junior team, the Saturdays as well. And then from there I was unsure what to do and ended up getting a scholarship to America. But that was actually through Ayr, was when I first heard about it. And then obviously didn't progress on it till I was about 17. Moved over there when I was about 18. I was there for 4.5 years. Played at 2 different colleges and then signed for a team in Pennsylvania, which is like the 4th division in America. So you basically play for 4 months of the year. It's like a kind of semi-pro development league in America. That was a really good start, pretty good standard. Really enjoyed that. Scottish coach as well. So my 2 coaches in America were both Scottish, which helped me as well. So I was there, and then after that came back home and tried to move on my career. I think coming home, it was difficult being out the game in Scotland for so long. When I came back home, I didn't really have the same connections as to who to go to. But in the summer, the year before, I was training with the Glens. And then when I came back, the Glens asked me back in. Had a few issues. So the past 2 years have been a bit annoying for me, football. I couldn't get signed due to international clearance issues. Right. Managed to get that resolved. Then when I got it resolved, January time, get injured, had a hand injury, and then came back, and then COVID hit. And then from there, when the next season came, obviously Glen didn't apply for the league, and then lucky enough, Bonnyton came in for me and felt like a perfect fit. So went there. So I would say this is it took about 3 years, but this is my first full season back in Scotland. Took its time coming, but so that's basically that's my background in football almost.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Alan, we'll obviously touch a bit on your time at Kilmarnock and obviously the youth development. I'll just run through some of the players who you played a part in and breaking through into the game who went on to have really good careers. Just quickly, Gary Hay, James Fowler, Paul Di Giacomo, Chris Boyd, Craig Sampson, Stephen Naismith, our very own Rory Loy, Jamie Hamill, Cammy Bell. That list is just a who's who of kind of great Kilmarnock players who went on to establish really good careers in the game. How fondly do you look back on your time at youth development, and how proud are you of some of the players that have went on to have really good careers?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it, and I was supported by, you know, a lot of good people in terms of coaching the younger teams and people in recruitment like Willie Fisher, then so the coaches, Andy Black, who's still there, Paul Wright, who was a youth coach as well, and people like Ian Windle, who gave me a lot of support. But no, the players, you know, I mean, I'm sure I got a bit of pride in all the players, really. Obviously, the likes of Chris Boyd and Naismith and Greg Taylor, who went for good fees for the club, you know, says a lot for them. But then there's a lot that, you know, had long careers at Kilmarnock, as you mentioned, like Gary Hay, James Fowler, Rory, Paul DiGiacomo, Jamie Hamill, you know, and you now see Fow and Paul DiGiacomo still working at Kilmarnock, and Jamie Hamill being a manager at Stranraer, which makes you feel really old. You know, and others who had also had good careers at Kilmarnock and elsewhere, like Craig Sampson and more recently Lee Ashcroft and Greg Kilty. So, you know, a lot of good players, and just, you know, it was a time that I enjoyed and got a lot of support for.
Brilliant. We've actually been in touch with a few of your kind of people that you helped in your time at Kilmarnock. I've got a few kind of stories to ask you about, so we're looking forward to that later on in the show. Rhys, obviously Bonnyton, you said there it's kind of a local connection to your local club. How proud are you to be the captain of Bonnyton?
I would say I'm pretty proud. It's always a good thing to have. It's good to know your coach is respect enough to give you that in the first place. Especially being local. I mean, the Synergy Stadium's about 5 minutes from me. Like I say, I've always known about Bonn. Never played with them at youth level, just due to who I played for, but I always knew them from that standpoint. Like I always say, it's the first time I've took on, apart from in America, but the first time I've took on a captaincy role back home. I've only just received that about a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So again, hopefully I can, like I say, I'm still learning. I'm still young, but hopefully I can kind of progress, and hopefully it can help me develop my game as well. But I overall proud as well, especially being a local boy as well. So aye.
Alan, how impressive you've been with players like Rhys obviously coming into the squad, and obviously how kind of much potential do you see in players like Rhys kind of going forward in the game?
Yeah, well, I mean, Rhys has come in, has done well. You know, we've got a nucleus of players who were with us in the South of Scotland League, and then we've brought in a few this season to try and strengthen us and give us a bit more experience. But that's certainly something that we do lack. Players who've got experience at playing at this level, and something that we would like to address. But no, I mean, although we're in the position when we are, there's a number of the players have performed at a good level week in and week out for us. So, you know, we've got no qualms about that, and it's a bunch of players who work hard at training and put the effort in there. And it's, as Rhys said earlier on, that we seem to make silly mistakes that are costly in games, but we've just got to keep trying to fix that.
Rhys, obviously, what's it like for you? Obviously, working under the likes of Alan and Paul, obviously two people with tremendous legacies at Kilmarnock. There are obviously connections to the local kind of community speaks for themselves, just how respected they are. How do you find kind of working under them, and how good are they to be as a coaching team?
Aye. Aye. I mean, it's a big draw factor, obviously knowing who they are and stuff. I mean, I come on it for myself. It's a big draw factor, especially Alan with the right back, same as me. And then Paul obviously had a great career. Obviously, we want to develop the game as much as possible. Still young, still learning. So again, like you're going to learn off people. You're going to learn the most off like players that have played at a high level. And again, like I say, it's a massive draw factor to develop my game and hopefully improve each year, which I think every player strive to do the best they can. So I would say it's great. Aye.
Brilliant. We'll move into our quick fire round. This is where we put both of you in the spot and can I try and get you to come up with stuff off the cuff. We will start with Alan. Are you good to run through some quick fire questions about your career, Alan?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It was a long time ago, so I don't know how my memory will go.
Well, we'll start with the first one. This is a simple one. Mark Wilson or Rory Loy, who did you see having the biggest impact in football? This isn't my question, by the way.
I think Rory.
Rory, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Best player played with?
Ian McCulloch.
Best player played against?
Tommy McLean.
Best player developed at youth level?
Probably Stephen Naismith, but that's a really difficult one.
That's a hard one. There's a lot of players to run through. Best character you've ever met in football?
Character? Ian Durant.
Very good. I've got a wee question about Ian Durant later on. Best manager played under?
All my managers really, there was something different because the likes of Walter McRae gave me an opportunity to play and Davy Snedden helped me along. One that I felt comfortable playing with was Jim Clooney, who wasn't the most popular probably with Kilmarnock supporters, but I felt quite comfortable playing for him because I felt I knew what he wanted from me.
Brilliant. You can pick 3 players in the West of Scotland League to sign for Bonnyton. Who would they be?
David Syme.
Okay.
Although he gave me so many headaches at Kilmarnock, that might be a bad idea. Sam Liddington, probably just because he scored a 25-yard free kick against us on Saturday, so it might stop him doing that. And I probably have to keep going to guys that I've played with. Or I'll say the guy Nicky Little at Clydebank.
Very good. Favourite other sport?
Golf.
Favourite memory watching Kilmarnock since you retired from playing?
Since I retired from playing?
So a particular memory for your day, for watching Kilmarnock that kind of sticks out to you?
Probably more things stick out from before I actually played rather than, since then, because with my involvement with Bonnyton and things, then I'm tied up on a Saturday, so I haven't really seen them all that often, to be perfectly honest, although probably the best was the first leg of the playoff. Well, no, sorry. It was at the first leg of the playoff when they lost to Falkirk 1-0, but the second leg, when they just blew them away in the second game at Rugby Park, was probably the best since I've left.
Brilliant. Favourite personal footballing memory?
As I say, being part of the team that beat Celtic in the cup replay.
Very good. That's brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Alan. We'll move on to Rhys. We're going to put you in a teammates little quick fire round, so it's a time to stick in your fellow teammates at Bonnyton. We're going to ask you a few questions, and Alan, we'll bring you in this as well. If you feel that Rhys is saying the wrong answer, please chip in, because this could be very entertaining, and I'm keen to get your thoughts on this as well. So you ready for this, Rhys?
Aye.
Who's the best trainer at Bonnyton?
Best trainer. Oh, I'm not even sure actually. Go Logan Smith.
Alan, what was your thoughts?
That's a good choice if he can't pick himself.
Aye.
Who's the worst?
Who's the worst? Trainer. G. Aye, Gordon maybe.
Who's the team hard man?
Team hard man.
Who would you want in your corner if you got a bad foul?
Maybe I don't think.
Maybe that's part of our problem.
Aye, no, I think that is a problem. Nobody's aggressive enough. I'll go Logan again. He's about 6'4". He'll do no bad.
Who's the most skillful?
Probably Taylor. Trevor, Allen calls him. Taylor Allen.
Who's the quickest?
Kyle Gilroy.
Who's the slowest?
I'm gonna say Walsh, but he's alright. He's not too bad. Maybe I'll go Walshy.
Alan, what was your thoughts on them? Are you any that you particularly disagree with?
No, I think he's covered it not bad.
We've got a few more. Who's the team joker in the dressing room, Rhys?
Maybe Taylor. He doesn't mean to be, but he just is. Doesn't mean to be. He's got a funny aura about him. Give it to him.
Worst dress sense?
There's a few for that, I think. I've not really picked up on a lot of folks' dress sense, just kind of wee bits here and there. Big Hoosty, I would say. I've seen him with some weird times coming in.
Final question, who's the teacher's pet?
Teacher's pet. Trying to get somebody who's been there a long time. I'm not even too sure. Go Dean maybe.
Alan, who's the teacher's pet?
I've got no favourites. Everything's on merit.
Brilliant. That was our quickfire questions. We're now going to open the floor up. We get some panel questions as well from kind of guests that we've had on. I'll start with Alan here. Ask Alan about the time Paul Di Giacomo hid in his car.
Hid in my car. Don't know. I mean, I remember a few times where Paul Di Giacomo caused me grief, but I can't remember him actually hiding in my car. I remember him trying to drive away once when he was part of the ground staff without doing his jobs, and I ran out to stop him and I almost got run down. No, I had a few incidents with Jacko, but I don't remember him hiding in my car.
Brilliant. Ask Rhys about the time he fell out with his girlfriend over a bottle of red wine.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you, right?
I fell with my girlfriend over red wine.
That's what I've been told. That's
Aye.
Sources gave me that information.
We follow it a lot. I don't know. Follow it a lot. Don't know about red wine. See, to be honest, it's probably the tapping. I'll probably fill it. I can't remember.
Brilliant. What do both of you see as the biggest change in football since you started playing the game? Rhys, I'll come at you with that one first. What's the biggest change in football since you started playing?
Probably two things. Probably I think how expansive and open the game become. I think that, and then obviously VAR, VAR. Not a fan of it, but I think that's most people's answer. VAR.
Alan, what's been the biggest change in football since you started playing the game that you've noticed?
Well, I've been there for a long time, since I started playing, so even just multi-studded boots. But no, I mean, even just the whole preparation for it, in terms of sort of fitness training, in terms of building yourself up, even to the extent that warm-ups. I mean, when I started playing, you went out at 5-3 and did a couple of runs, and that was you went into a game, as opposed to now where, albeit it's been going for a number of years, there's a totally structured warm-up and things behind it. So, you know, just things like that.
I would say as well, when I transitioned from America, from Scotland to America,
Yeah.
there's a difference in terms of how the game's run. When I went over there, it was just all athletes, very much into the strength and conditioning. You're in the gym most days and stuff like that. You get players who just weren't technically good at all, but they could just run for days. So I'll say there's a massive difference. Probably helped my game a bit as well, because strength me up a bit more, improved my speed and whatnot. So it gave me a bit more insight into the strength and conditioning involved in football.
Brilliant. We've got another couple of questions here, and then we'll move into a couple more that we've got through. Do the boys feel the new setup in the West of Scotland, the Development League, is giving more young players the chance to progress, or is the competitiveness of the Senior League restricting their chances? Alan, first we'll come to you for that. What's your thoughts on that question?
No, I mean, I think the Development League is, you know, a very worthwhile thing, because there are a lot of good teams in the Lowland League side of it, and players get challenged that I think prepares them better for stepping up to first team level.
Rhys, what's your thoughts on that question?
No, I think overall it's a good thing. Remember when I was, like I say, after I left, when I was younger, like my last year before I moved away to America, the boys club level, we didn't really have many teams that were connected to juniors, or it was only kind of your League 2, League 1, Championship, Premiership teams that had the youth that had progression onto it. Apart from that, you had boys club, and then you tried to take a contract with a junior team. That was kind of it. Lucky enough, the team I managed time up in Ranger that had the youth team, but majority team in the league didn't have that kind of setup. So I think it's a good thing to have. It gives players that route straight into the game. But I think, like you say as well, I think the full league now has just became more competitive. A lot more players are coming into it. I think everyone can agree, like the league probably this year is more competitive than it's ever been, because everybody wants to push on, because now the junior setup's gone. I mean, at any level, no matter, you're going to need to kind of fight for your spot anyway. At some point, you have to find a way into the team, and football's a brutal sport. It's a bit of luck and a bit of just kind of taking a chance when you get it. So I don't see any negative behind it.
Yeah, definitely, I'd agree with that as well. We've got a question here from one of Alan's former prodigies, Alan Kerr. Remember that name, Alan?
Yes, aye.
Ask Alan if the team of Bagan, Burke, Hay, Lachlan, Meldrum, Roberts, Adams, etc. is the best youth team you've ever had.
That's just because he was in it.
What are your memories of that youth team? How good were they?
No, they were a very good team. I mean, most of that team was put together by Jimmy Clark and Stuart McLean and I. When Jimmy took the SFA job, Stuart McLean and I took that team, and they were the first team that I was involved with at Kilmarnock. But no, they were a very good team. There was no weak links in that team.
And one of those,
Matt Roberts couldn't get a game for us because he was playing for the first team.
The man himself actually been in touch. He's asked a question actually. Have you ever beat Mark at a game of golf?
Mark Roberts?
Yep, Mark Roberts is asking if you ever beat him at a game of golf.
No, I don't think so. Well, that's because I've never played him.
How good is he as well? Obviously, he's a kind of cult hero on our channel, but how good was he as a player? And obviously, he went on to be a manager as well. What's your kind of memories of Marco?
Mark was always a very accomplished player. I mean, he never had any pace, even when he was young, but he had a tremendous football brain, and a lot of skill that he was, and he was somebody who could make a difference in a game, and he had a great personality about the place. So, it's no surprise, and the fact that he was still playing at 41 or so, I think, is a great testament to him, really.
Yeah, definitely. We're a big fan of him at SM Media. Next question comes from another former player that was with you at Kilmarnock as well, Stevie Murray. We've got a question from Stevie that says, ask Alan about the time you headed... No, sorry, that's from another person. Could you ask Alan about the youth team bus that had a hole in the roof and we get soaked every morning?
Times were tough at Rugby Park, but that was in the days when we trained down at the Magnum. There was no AstroTurf at Rugby Park. We trained at the Magnum. We strapped the goals onto the roof and charged down there, and then put the goals up for the first team arriving. But no, the bus had seen better days.
Ross Fisher, another one as well. Ask Alan about the time he headed the stopwatch and the ball burst himself open.
Well, I've had that side. That's just because I want to be involved in the training, you see.
Brilliant. Rhys, obviously we'll come to you as well. What's your kind of biggest memory you've had of your kind of football career so far? And is there a particular kind of memory as a fan that sticks out to you as well?
I would say biggest memory probably that I'm not really too sure. Different one, maybe playing the US Open Cup. That's like your equivalent to the Scottish Cup here, but in America. Quite a good experience from that. It was on ESPN, so it's good to make an appearance in that. Again, I didn't actually realise when I turned up. I didn't actually realise it was like the Scottish Cup. I only found out in the day that it was quite a big game. So that's probably my fondest memory in terms of football. In terms of as a fan, I would say the one that sticks out to me, because I was dead young, was when it was two times when Kelly stayed up against Falkirk. Because I was young enough and was going to the game. And probably when Kelly finished third, I wasn't here when it happened, but I remember watching it on a live stream and obviously beating Rangers at home. I would say that's my two fondest memories.
Brilliant. We've got a couple more for you, Alan. Obviously, this is from our friend Mark Wilson. Apart from Wilson, who was your best coach at Kilmarnock? Does Wilson even make the cut in that equation?
I'll say yes in case he slaughters me afterwards. Best coach? No, there was a lot of good coaches over the period, so I would be loath to pick one out.
Is there any player at Kilmarnock that was released that went on to bigger and better things? And another part of that question, was there anyone you thought who would have made it to the big time but somehow didn't, whether it was due to injury or other factors? What was, firstly, the kind of player that released with Kelly that went on to bigger and better things? Is there one that stands out?
Probably Craig Conway, who went. He didn't actually play for the team that I'm now justifying myself, but it wasn't my initial decision, but I went along with it. But no, Craig Conway, because he obviously had a really good career, both here and down south, and played for Scotland. But actually, I got invited back to Kilmarnock Academy to give a talk to 6-year pupils, a question and answer session, and Craig Conway had been invited as well. And the first question to him was, what was your biggest disappointment in football? And it was getting released by Alan from Kilmarnock. So that was a bad start to the Q&A.
And the other side of that, is there a player you thought that would make it in the big time but somehow didn't?
Mark Canning was one who I always thought at Kilmarnock had a capability of doing well, and it never happened for him. I think other people get brought in who weren't any better than he would have been, and I think he got a bit disillusioned with that. But I thought Mark was a good player.
Final question: what is your memories of Ian Durrant, and how big a presence was he with you at Kilmarnock?
He was a huge personality. I mean, he was somebody who he treated everybody the same, whether you were the youngest apprentice or one of the senior players. He spared nobody in his comments and things. But no, he was. I mean, obviously, he was an exceptional player for Kilmarnock, albeit at a very late stage in his career. I mean, the half of the game that he played against Celtic in the cup final was, probably the best display that I've ever seen. Anybody just running a game, and as I say, he was a massive personality, and when he helped me with the youth setup, and I sort of helped him with the reserves for a couple of seasons, and it was an education in more ways than one.
Brilliant. We will take a wee look at what's coming up for Bonnyton over the next few weeks in the final part of the show. A lot of home games in succession. Rhys, how important is that if Bonnyton are going to make a wee run? How important is it to get a win in the Synergy Arena and get a wee run going?
I think it's crucial for us. I think now we're at a point where we just need points on the board. We're starting to kind of turn a performance into results. I would say game against Cumnock, we played well. 1-1 draw again. Still not a win. Hurlford last week, I thought we made a good show of ourselves. I think 2-1, and then they score from much in a chase in the game, but I felt we could have maybe nicked something in there. Had a good chance to end the game and missed it. But like you say, I think they won a game we've got coming up as well. Still got Blantyre to play, Largs, teams that are around our area, in the league. Really important to pick up points against A teams and hopefully a few bigger teams. Again, coming into winter months as well, you'd like to think that some teams wouldn't actually enjoy their away trip. You'll find that sometimes, hopefully. Like I say, I think we just need that bit more dig just to kind of grind out results. Again, it's at a point now where we don't even need to. We just need to get the win, just grind them out as much as we can. And hopefully, like we say, we can achieve that in the next few months. Yeah,
definitely. Alan, what's your thoughts on the upcoming run for Bonnyton and the kind of big home games? Is it important to establish a wee run in the next few weeks?
Very much so. I mean, I think we've got 21 games left, and we need to get a good number of points to stay in the league. So that's obviously our aim. But you've got to win your home games really, regardless of the calibre of the opposition.
Yeah, definitely. But we can only wish you all the best for the season ahead, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be on tonight. Thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
It's
been an absolute pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who has tuned into the show. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.